It's really a very unique situation in this village that they never had a girls' school here. There's one, she's running.
Hi.
Who was that? You can see the joy on their face, the way they run to school. Our kids in US, we have to force them in the morning to wake them up, literally. But these kids, you can see how eager they are. It's really heartbreaking.
I want to be a doctor. My greatest ambition, peace in Afghanistan.
I want to be a teacher.
My great ambition, peace in Afghanistan.
I want to be a doctor.
When we opened the school, we had like 200 girls. And I saw these two sisters that don't have a father, don't have a mother, and they are brought up by an aunt. She's 11 years old. I mean, she's so little. And they had her engaged a week or two ago. She stopped coming to school, which made us very sad. And I wanted to see if there's any possibility to bring her out.
ما به خاطر از این می آمدیم که از خاطر امی دخترکا خدیجه و خدایجه دیگه چی باعث است که شما یار نمیمانین در مکتب؟
در اینجا چی سرک نوش چیز در خشت اونجا کار میکرد او ششته بود گفته و مردکا آمده بود که چرا توی جیگرخون هستی گفته که امین بسیار ناجور است حالا من میخوام اگه او بمره ما چی کنیم بیادرم گفته بود باز گفته بود که برو خیر است بر رضای خدا یک من خوراک دارم و نمور بر تو میتم باز او آمد که بدل است باز ما مرا داد
و مثل که هزار مردمای ما شما با بلک‌ها مردمای ما بی‌سواد و همتون ماندن.
It's an illustration of the real in the trenches challenges of bringing the idea of democracy to a country like Afghanistan. There's a misconception among people, especially in the West, that these problems began with the Taliban. Unfortunately, it predates the Taliban by centuries. You know, Afghanistan is a largely a patriarchal, conservative, religious, tribal country. And the question is, how do you bring about this kind of, more progressive Western sensibility into a region where women have been voiceless and faceless for so very long?
The day before we were opening the school, some men came inside and said, please make it into a boys' school because the boys are the backbone of Afghanistan and they need this help. And I said, well, you know that the women are eyesight of Afghanistan. And I said, unfortunately, you all are blind.
بله میگه بود مکتب بچه‌ها می ساختنش و اقتداد در تخریب ازی بودن که تخریب کنن نمونن که جور کنن میگفتن که زابلی صاحب خریده خانم زابلی این جای شخصیش است و از خودش است و من گفتم میره جای بردن هم میتونن.
The day our school opened, the other side of Kabul, there was 100 girls killed because somebody threw hand grenades in the school. یک سال که بخیر تیر شد چیزی که غلطیای ماست او رو درست میکنیم چیزی که کمی است او رو پورا میکنیم و امی امید داریم که جای محافظ باشه دیگه به خدا از این قریه و از این مردم هیچ ما نمیخوایم. As the situation in Afghanistan is so fragile, you never know what tomorrow brings. Good morning. It's an honor, it's a privilege. I could never dream that one day I'll be standing here in front of these brave men and women and speaking to them about something that so little in my book that I've done for the past maybe 15 years or so. I think 9/11 changed many, many lives, and I was one of them. I had a shop in a very small town for 20 years, as a seamstress or as a designer. And that which was not really my field. My field was education. But I had to make a living to take care of my son, and I thought that this is a very good idea to be with him and support him. And so he grew up. And then 9/11 happened. And before that also, on Sundays, I would go to Haley House in Boston and bring some food for the people that couldn't afford and stay a few hours with them. And so I wanted to do something, and then 9/11 happened, and I didn't know I'm an Afghan and also a Muslim. And there were a lot of questions like, speak, who's Osama bin Laden? And I had no answer because I didn't know who this terrorist is. I had no idea. I was living in my own world, trying to make a living. But it changed my life. It changed my life with what happened. It was such a terrible and tragic event. And I watched it somehow live on television because I was making a bride's dress. And I was there and I saw this, that there's fire on the towers, and then they said, oh, a helicopter hit it by mistake. And then in a minute you see this other plane coming and hitting this. And it's like, I don't have to say what happened. And I didn't know what to do to really, I was so hurt and I was so embarrassed in a way. But later on we found out that none of those terrorists were Afghan, and that made me a little better. But of course, those terrorists were grown in Afghanistan, or they were trained in Afghanistan. So what do you do? And so I started my journey, how to make it better, how to show that I really care, because I lived in America for 42 years. And I think I lived there more than I lived in Afghanistan. And I tried to do different things with the firemen and making quilts, and with Pentagon, and kind of making care packages, like little things that I tried to do and try to make a way out so I can be part of something maybe that can change the lives of Afghans, and also the image of an Afghan, that we really care. We are all same human beings, and our mission is peace in the world, really. And what do you do with this terrorism? What do you do with these people who are so brutal? What do you do with people who don't care for life? Because they don't care for their life, so nobody's important for them. All they are doing is destroying human lives. And I think it started with the Air Force Academy, that I got quite a bit with the Pentagon and giving them quilts and so forth. And then one day I got an email about, I think it was a colonel in Bagram, and he wrote to us that there's a child, a 4-month-old girl, that the father threw her in the fire because she was crying, and she's a girl. And she's burnt 80% her face, and please find a way to, if we can really help her, to bring her to US. And I tried very hard, and Shriners Hospital accepted her. And then I got an email from the colonel and said, the father has changed his story, and he wants to come to US. I said, the day he arrives, I'll be the one to choke him to death. He cannot, under no circumstances he can come to this country. So, unfortunately, that child died. But then I got another email a while after and said, you know, there was a very nice email saying, the Air Force Academy, that what's happening is that we fly to these villages between Kabul and Bagram. And what we see is that every child is barefoot, and especially the girls. So I said, well, I think I can do something about this. And I got in touch with them, which is Operation Shoe Fly. My store was changed from sewing to a warehouse of old shoes, shoes that nobody wanted. We cleaned it, we put laces on it, and then we would pack it up. In each box would be 55 shoes. And I sent over 30,000 pair of shoes to Bagram for soldiers to go and divide and distribute it. And in the end, they said, and I was going to Kabul back and forth, and they asked me to come and be with them, and they want to, when they distribute this, they would like me to be with them. And they were kind enough, 40 of them, they came to Kabul airport. And you know, maybe I'm really stupid, I had 12 suitcases carrying from Boston to Kabul, just with me, with toys and all kind of things for the kids. Somehow I arrived with all these 12 suitcases, and they came to the airport, and we went to this site that was destroyed most probably during the war, and we distributed things. And I noticed, you know, the girls, we gave them little toys, we gave them a pair of shoes, and then I would see behind the rock, there was a big guy, like boy, who's 14 years old, hiding there. And then the moment this girl passes by, he would grab everything she had. And that made me go crazy. I ran after the kid. I said, how dare you do this? But he ran. He had it like a sack, and he was just filling it up. And after that, I realized, I said, you know, there's so much going on in this country, but look at these girls. I think they have no future. You ask her, I think if you ever are in a village, most probably some of you did go, when you ask a guy, you talk to him, say, how many children you have? If he has 8 girls and 2 boys, he will say 2. He will never say, I have 8 girls. But what has happened now, very small village, 7 villages together. I have built this school. It is now 7th year of it. And here now, when you ask the father, how many girls you have, how many children you have, they say 6 girls and 2 boys. So that has changed. They've tasted that, yes, I think woman is the one who can build a house. Woman is the one that can build relationships and take care of the whole family. I think in Afghanistan or any third world countries, what happens is that the woman is only given status when she is 80 years old. She suffers for 80 years with the husband, with the sons. But when she's 80 years old and she's about to die, then they say in their language, Morake, mother, you decide, should we marry this son to so-and-so, or or anything. But before that, there is no acknowledgement of her being. They say that they use a word like household as for their wife. They will never say, so-and-so's mother. They would say her name, Razia or Zora or whatever hell it is. They will never say that. They will say household, house, part of the house. So I will tell you that that was the most wonderful time when I went to Bagram. I stayed overnight, and when we were delivering things, there was a little boy who had crossed eyes and also something wrong with his leg. So some of the officers who were there, they had made arrangements to take this child to Bagram. There were 3 hospitals. One was Korean, one was American, and one was Egyptian. Egyptian was one for the eyes. So they decided to take this child there, and I went with them. So before this child went there, I gave him like T-shirts and pants and a lot of things for him because he didn't want to go, and toys and car and whatever. So we took him there, and there was an Egyptian nurse, and I think it was Captain, Jim. He said, well, please wash him and dress him up. He's very filthy. So they did that. While we were talking, a tall man came. You thought he's dead. He was like really white. He walked towards us. And where we were in this hall, there were about 20 young men lying there. They were wounded. These are Afghans. They were there for some reason or the other. So we are standing there, and this guy comes, and he says, my wife just died, and I don't have money to take her body to the village. And what I looked at him, and he wasn't asking me, he was asking the officers. I looked at him, and I spoke to him. I said, how dare you ask these guys? They don't carry money with them. You go away. And he was like really begging. And I said, go and sit down there. So he sat down, and after we were finished, we came out. They brought the vehicle. I sat with them, and I had 1,000 Afghani. I gave it to the officer, and I said, now you go in and you give it to him. So he walks in, and he finds him, and he gives him that 1,000 Afghani. The guy starts to lay on his feet and thank him, and kisses his hand, and he's so happy. So he comes back to me, and he has tears in his eyes. And he tells me, Razia Jan, why did you do this? Why didn't you give? Because you were there. I said, if I gave him, he says, Afghan, she cares, nobody else cares, and she's from America, why not? I said, no. Believe me, what you did, these 20 men that they are lying there, they will never pick their hand against any one of you. This is what I tried to put a seed there, that you are the one who's taking care of these people, not an Afghan woman coming and pretending that she's the top person. And so that is the reason that I want to work, with our soldiers. I have built this school. It's a very small. We have about 450 girls. But believe me, every day I had to face a challenge. First of all, they could not accept a woman to really come to their village and stand next to the wall, a dirt wall, for hours because an engineer was supposed to come. 10 men would come in front of me and say, well, sister, why are you standing here? Come inside and have a cup of tea with my wife. You stay in and we'll take care of it. They said it once, they said it twice. Third time he came and I said, brother, if I don't stand here, you will not have anything. You have to deal with me. I'm the one who's going to build this school, and I'm the one who's going to put each brick there. So if you are not happy about it, walk away, and I don't want to see your face again. And believe me, after that, they would come and put brick with me. They would stand with me. They wouldn't say anything. Maybe because I'm old, maybe because I'm too pushy. I don't know, but I think in those countries, what you have to be determined. You have to have a vision. Only way you can have a success. There are a lot of problems, there are a lot of threats. You know, people are throwing acid on girls. People are poisoning their water because they're going to school. These are innocent children, and it's not their fault. But you have to face it. You cannot give up. You have to find a way to make life better for every human being. And I think women are so important in anybody's life. I think in here also. I think you have to work with your wife or mother or sister. You know, it's a combination of everybody caring for each other. A man cannot just decide fate. This girl you saw, these two girls, it's a real story. They were very little. Their father was very abusive to the mother. Broken nose, broken arm, broken everything. And you know, in Afghanistan, once they marry a girl, it's a shame to go to their house or to see what your daughter's life is or what's happening in her life. Once they've given, because most of them are sold, they take money for their daughter. So they have no say, whatever happens. And this woman's life, she has 4 children, 3, 4, 2, 1. And this man is abusive to her, throws the pots on her, throws things on her. She's black and white. And then one of her brothers, who when she got married, he was this little, now he's 17, 18 years old. And somehow he wanders around in her life. He comes to the house and he sees her broken arm, just all scar, and she's like, never mind, never mind. And then the husband comes who's fully under drugs and yells at her and says, give me the food, and so forth, throws things on her and says, who's this? Why is he here? Anyways, he goes to bed. And this young man says, I'm not going to take it anymore for your sake. And what he does is, he kills that man with his sister. I think you've read the Thousand Splendid Sun, if you have, Khalid Hosseini's book. And this is a real thing. So they kill this guy and put him in a well. And he runs away with the mother, with the wife. Till today, nobody has seen them. But these children are left for the aunt, who's the sister, father's sister. She is so cruel to the girls because she says they remind her of the wife. And she adores the two boys. And she spoils them to death. So these two girls come the first day we opened the school. You saw them. So like the dirt is insert in their face, in their hands. They're so poor. So they come and they stand there, and I'm registering, and I call them, and they come close to me, and they do like this. And I said, nobody's going to touch you ever here. Nobody's going to abuse you here. And I will make sure that nobody abuses you at home from now on. So I put them in school, and they're there, I think, for 2 years with us. And then, of course, you saw this girl that she was engaged. And I think now she's married 2 years, and she had twice. A child was born and dead because she's so little. And the other one, the younger one, they didn't want her to come to school. So what I did is I brought the school to her. I hired a teacher that goes and teaches her 3 hours a day at home. When she left, she was in 3rd grade. And she just completed her 4th grade. And I hope that they will allow her to stay home, but if she can really get some education. So her life will be a little better than anybody in her family, because the brothers are illiterate, and I think she's the only one who's the smart one. There's so many stories. I have a little girl, 4 years old, and I had some visitors came and just checked with all, like these girls say, I want to be a teacher and I want to be a doctor. And so this little girl, somebody asked her, he said, what do you want to be when you grow up? Engineer. And the lady asked, he said, do you know what engineer is? She said, wait a minute. Let me grow up, become an engineer. I'll come back and tell you what it is. I don't know what it is. So these are the little girls that have a future. They might not become an engineer, but if they can study up to 3rd grade, I think their life will be so much better than anybody in that village. And also, I think they have the taste of that freedom that I think we take for granted. These girls, now my older girls, 6 or 7 of them, is that too much, too long?
As soon as you're done, ma'am.
Okay, one more story. And these girls, I think I lost my track of my, yeah, that's okay. So these girls didn't want to come to school, 7, 8 of them, because they were supposed to wear burqa now. And I made them sit, and I said, listen, you come here 8 hours and you have the best time of your life. And then you wear the burqa and go home. Who cares who you are on the way or at home? So now I have, I think, 13 girls who wear burqa. The moment they come, they throw it in the outside, and they are in the classroom, and they are there having fun. I think it's just trying to teach. It's a cruel world there. And I think we all have to prepare and hope that the Taliban will never come again to destroy the lives of the women in Afghanistan. Thank you so much.